black and blue and watch your Super Bowl dreams till they all come true. One blood, one team, one rock, one player, do the whole, one goal, one star, to dominate the heart of the black and blue and watch your Super Bowl dreams till they all come true. One chance, one goal, one goal, one redefining heaven to ignite true soul. To see your hopes and dreams to the front page story, to be remembered for your rise to glory.
Welcome to rainy Cincinnati, Ohio, where the Pittsburgh Steelers play the first-place Cincinnati Bengals. This game is brought to you today in high definition by Sony. Our kickoff from the jungle is next on CBS. Welcome back to Rockin' Paul Brown Stadium here in Cincinnati with Super Bowl champion Randy Cross, Kevin Harlan. It's 47 degrees. There is a slight breeze. We have had rain on and off all morning long. Bill Cowher is in his 14th season, the 48-year-old head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, a native from that city. And there's Marvin Lewis in his third season from McDonald, Pennsylvania. He and Cowher played high school football against each other. The Steelers lost to Jacksonville, committing 4 turnovers in what Bill Cowher said was one of the most frustrating losses in my 14 years. Cincinnati beat Tennessee last week, coming from behind with 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns. The Steelers, the Bengals, and the rookie is Tad Perry from the 5-yard line for Cincinnati. And Sean Marie brought him down along with Mike Logan at about the 25-yard line on a return of 18 yards. As you take a look at Carson Palmer, the second-rated quarterback in the National Football League coming into today. Right tackle Willie Anderson has been to 2 consecutive Pro Bowls. And wide receiver Chad Johnson is the second leading receiver in the National Football League coming into today.
Cincinnati needs to stay who they are. That's running the ball, and that's getting the ball out and passing. You feature your quarterback. Don't change your personality just because it's a big game.
And from the 25, it's first down and 10. It has big game feel all about it this week in Cincinnati and in Pittsburgh. Rudy Johnson. And he plows ahead for a couple to about the 28, and he was brought down by linebacker James Harrison. It's a gain of 4. The Pittsburgh defense, number 8, nose tackle Casey Hampton says he finally feels 100% after his knee injury last season. Linebacker James Ferrier leads the Steelers in tackles again. And a banged-up secondary, but Willie Williams will start for Deshae Townsend, who will play in the nickel and the dime today. Second down and 6 from the 28-yard line. Palmer's first pass today is caught by T.J. Hushmanzada. He's been battling a badly bruised hand. He was tackled on the play by Hope at the 35-yard line. It's a gain of 7, and it is a first down.
You know, last week, Jacksonville beat Pittsburgh for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons was with Polamalu moving all over the place, they ended up a lot of times with 7 guys in the box with Polamalu dropping out deep, and they were able to run the ball. That time there's 7 in the box. Cincinnati throws the ball into that defense.
First drive of the game from the 36-yard line, first and 10. Johnson remains in the backfield. And Rudy from Auburn gets the call and tackled immediately by Ferrier. It's a gain of a yard to the 36.
You know, this safety Polamalu, he is the key to this defense. You know, at times you want to ignore him. At times you can't take your eyes off him if you're a quarterback. And here's why. Watch the different places. And we had a little fun with this, but it is Troy's ploys. This is all done to try to confuse the blocking patterns, to try to confuse the quarterback. Heck, it confuses running backs and wide receivers. They don't know what kind of coverage this guy is because he looks like a pinball machine out there sometimes.
Henry is the third receiver. Perry's in the backfield. 2nd and 9. 6 defensive backs for Pittsburgh. And here's Palmer outside, caught by Perry. The former number 1 pick out of Michigan is knocked out of bounds by Ike Taylor. The gain is to the 47-yard line. He picks up 10 yards. Another first down.
Well, you remember earlier We talked about everybody wants triplets. Well, these days now everyone also wants a 1-2 punch change of pace at running back. Rudy Johnson's the power, and Perry really is turning into the wiggle in the moves. This guy can cut on an edge better than any guy I've seen in the last year or two. He can just really do it. I mean, better than LT, better than a lot of them.
The tight end Kelly is a slot wide receiver. Johnson is in motion. 1st and 10, 47-yard line. Chad Johnson drops the ball. He had foot out there, kind of following the play. 2nd down and 10.
Now, one of the misconceptions, I think, of this football game coming in is that it's a much bigger game for Cincinnati than it is for Pittsburgh. And that's if you take in history. But I think in this league these days, you can't consider anything other than this year. And this team for Cincinnati is for real. Win or lose, this team is going to be a factor in the AFC this year because of what Marvin Lewis has brought this organization and football team to.
2nd down and 10 from the 47. And Palmer calls a timeout. I think he's short a player. He is short a tight end. Only 10 players on the field for the Bengals. 12:28 to play in the first.
The guys getting a little chippy. Hushmanzada and Taylor. Taylor doesn't like him lobbying the officials, and that's just the latest in a series of little contests we've seen here. These are two very pumped up, emotional teams.
Kursky has come in on the defensive line in place of Hampton for Pittsburgh. It's 2nd and 10 after that Cincinnati timeout. They didn't have enough guys on the field. Opening drive of the game, 47-yard line. Rudy Johnson, who gained a record 1,450 yards a season ago. Polamalu brings him down. He rumbles to the 16. He's to the 37-yard line, and a first for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Remember I talked about the 7 in the box and they threw against it the last time? Look what's in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7. You know, and here's the box basically right here. They've got 7 in there. You run it, and they ran right at it and crammed it right down the Steelers' throat. You've got to have 8 to stop Rudy Johnson.
Hampton back in. Von Oelhoffen is out. 1st and 10, 37-yard line. Rudy Johnson again. Big hole. Polamalu brings him down at the 24-yard line. Also assisted on the play by Willie Williams. It's a 13-yard gain, and the one-time Southeastern Conference Offensive Player of the Year is playing well early.
7 in the box again, 2 deep safeties. They're going to chase Pittsburgh right out of this defense. Polamalu and company have to get him after about an 8-9-yard gain before they ever hit him. You've got to have 8 in the box for Rudy Johnson, or you're asking for headaches.
Von Oelhoffen is back in. It's a 1st down, 25-yard line. 2 tight ends for Cincinnati. More Rudy Johnson. Ferrier can't bring him down. Hope cracks him out of bounds. Close to a 1st down at the 15-yard line. Gain of about 10.
And the Rudy starts here in Cincinnati. They love this running back. And again, not enough defenders up front. They had him outmanned to the left.
Hushmanzada comes off the sideline for Cincinnati in this game-opening drive. Johnson is the other wideout. 9th play of the drive. It started back at the Cincinnati 25. 2nd and a short one, 15 of Pittsburgh. The fake end around to Hushmanzada. Look at the time for Palmer. And it's caught. Johnson. And touchdown.
You know, they would have to take a look at this, I imagine, the way it ended, but we had enough of a look at that dance. That's the chemistry of Chad Johnson and Carson Palmer, though. This team gets into the red zone, gets anywhere near scoring area.
Looked like he dragged those 2 feet.
Here you go. Elbow. Is the ball moving? That's what they're going to see. That's what they're going to look for. And Bill Cowher has thrown the flag out. He is going to challenge it. And it's about the movement of the ball, Kevin. You know, we've seen so many replays this year where, you know, the receiver gets the ball, and then as he brings it in, it seems to move.
Pittsburgh is challenging the ruling on the field of a completed pass that resulted in a touchdown.
Chad Johnson was working on Ike Taylor. 3 years out of Louisiana Lafayette.
Has to have control. The elbow comes down first. See the ball moving on the ground? He's going to see that ball moving. I'm willing to bet you he rules that incomplete. Watch the elbow. Has he got it? Is the ball moving? The elbow comes down, but I think the ball is still moving in motion. You see it wiggling. One more time. Is it a catch? Does he have control? Does it move?
It looks to me like he is cradling that ball near his chest. It does not hit the ground. But your point is right.
From the first angle?
Exactly.
The first angle we showed you, actually, when he was rolling over, you could see that ball kind of moving on his chest. He's down. See the way it kind of scooches up into his elbow like that? That's movement of the ball. That's not control.
I think, though, if you put 10 people in a room, 5 would say he had it, and 5 would say he didn't, which means no overrule.
But Tony Corrente is the only one that matters.
That is true. Well, what a drive. Nonetheless, what a drive by Cincinnati to begin this big game.
Well, it was physical against Bill Cowher's defense. They slammed the ball in there, and Carson Palmer finished it off with a accurate throw over Ike Taylor to Chad Johnson. I mean, a beautiful, beautiful throw.
Should we take different views here? I'm going to say it's a touchdown.
Well, I usually tend to err when it takes a while. Tony Corrente, our referee, under the hood there. When it takes a while and you've got to see a whole bunch of motions, and it seems like how many times can you look at it? A lot of times he's looking as to where to spot the ball back where it was. More than anything else. I think the ball moved. I'd be surprised if he rules this a catch.
If the ball moves, with you there, but
you know, this whole indisputable, not indisputable. If the ball moves, the ball moves. And the impression I was under as to what a catch is when you hit the ground, you have to demonstrate control, and part of control is the ball not moving. Because I think that elbow clearly does come down in, but it does wiggle. The ball moves.
the drive for Cincinnati started with the game-opening kickoff at the 25. One of the bigger plays on that drive was a 10-yard catch and run by Perry, the second-year player from Michigan. But Rudy Johnson was truly we got a big diet of him. 5 carries and 42 yards on that drive. And now, right now, we're looking at what could be a 16-yard touchdown pass from Carson Palmer, the number 2 rated quarterback in the NFL, to the number 1 AFC receiver currently in Johnson.
And the key to me really was, the fact that they ran a lot of time off the clock. They kept the Steelers off the field. And the Steelers wanted to come out in that 4 defensive back deep look with a 7 in the box with Polamalu out of there. I tell you what, it looked like, they challenged them. You can't run against us. First play, they ran it real effectively defensively. They stuffed it. And after that, they took advantage of only 7 guys in the box.
After reviewing the play, the Cincinnati receiver came down with only 1 foot in bounds, and then his hand hit out of bounds. The ruling will be an incomplete pass. It will be Cincinnati's ball, 3rd down at the 16-yard line. Pittsburgh will not be charged with a timeout.
Sounds like control. The ball wasn't even a factor in what our referee, Tony Corrente, was looking at.
1 foot is in, and the elbow, I guess maybe he's saying the hand hit before the elbow, so it didn't count as the 2nd foot. 1 foot. Elbow.
His left hand may have been on the chalk.
Yeah.
Yep, his left hand may have been on the chalk. So it's 3rd and a short 1. The ball is at the 15-yard line. There is a tight end in the game, and this is a quarterback keeper by Carson Palmer, the Heisman Trophy winner from USC, picking up 2 and garnering a 1st down.
See the left hand right here. Watch as it comes down. He's got 1 foot already, but then what hits next is the hand and the elbow. So as the hand hits out of bounds, it's 1 foot, and that's why it was ruled out of bounds. And besides that, the ball was moving. It's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
This is the 11th play of the drive. The rookie Chris Henry is the third receiver. They've got Johnson in the backfield. An extra defensive back is the rookie McFadden for Pittsburgh, and this is Rudy Johnson on 1st and 10, who's gobbled up by Larry Foote out of Michigan. It's a gain of 2, and he's to the 12.
A play like that can be a little bit of a gut shot to an offense too, Kevin. You know, you've made that big drive, you finish it off with a spectacular play. Play gets reversed, you've got to try to recatch your breath, recatch your momentum, recatch your focus. And
Pittsburgh wants a timeout.
They're not the only ones that need to recatch their focus.
We've got 9:24 to play in the first, and the Bengals are driving.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by FedEx. For more football fun, go to FedExFootball.com. Dockers, men, women, home, dress to live. And by GMC Trucks and SUVs. We are professional grade.
With Randy Cross, Kevin Harlan, we're still in the midst of our first drive of the game. Cincinnati has moved from the 25 to the 12 of the Pittsburgh Steelers, facing 2nd and 8. That's the red zone number right there for the season for the Cincinnati Bengals. And the pass by Palmer is bobbled and dropped by the rookie out of West Virginia, Chris Henry. It is 3rd and 8. He was covered in the play by Hope. And the Steelers only had 4 defensive backs.
Some passes require touch, and others are just rockets, and that's the rocket. That's kind of like Jinx, the reliever last night for the White Sox. You're throwing the 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and as a rookie or a 10-year veteran or a guy off the street, you've got to catch that one.
Chris Perry is in. He's a wingback. There are 6 defensive backs, including Mike Logan and the rookie McFadden. It's 3rd and 8 from the 12 of Pittsburgh. Palmer got a good block from Levi Jones. Gets another one from Anderson, then he's pulled down, and it's dropped incomplete at the 10-yard line to Rudy Johnson. Aaron Smith, the Pro Bowl defensive end for the Pittsburgh Steelers, closed the door. It's 4th and 8, and Pittsburgh holds Cincinnati out and relegates the Bengals to a 3-point field goal try.
Well, a matchup to keep an eye on. Willie Anderson, anytime he gets near Smith, Aaron Smith, and now they're matched up against each other. Look at Willie Anderson, 71. Smith pushes him into Carson Palmer, affects the throw, and that's why they're kicking a field goal.
This is a 30-yard try by Shane Graham out of Virginia Tech. He's been terrific this year, 12 of 14, and he misses. Wide left. How about the Pittsburgh defense and dodging a bullet on the game-opening drive? 9:06 to play. That'll make your coach happy. Timeout.
Well, here it is, the miss. A 17-point swing, Kevin. You miss the field goal, you drop the 1 touchdown, the other touchdown's overruled. They tried to score 3 times, and none of them were allowed. 1 by the official and 2 by the Steelers.
Visit CBS Sportsline tonight for a complete wrap-up of all today's action on CBSSportsline.com. 20-yard line, first possession by Pittsburgh. 2 tight ends lining up. That's the rookie Miller in motion. Ben Roethlisberger to fast Willie Parker, grabbed on the play by the rookie Odell Thurman and Thornton. It's a gain of 8. He's out to the 28-yard line. The Pittsburgh offense, number 18. Roethlisberger returns after missing last week with a hyperextended and bruised left knee. The right side of the Steelers' offensive line has struggled. First-year starter Matt Starks has given up 3 sacks the last couple games, and Hines Ward is back, coming back from a hamstring that kept him out a week ago. 2nd down and 2, 28-yard line for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, 2 tight ends, and again Parker. Grabbed and brought down nicely. Deltha O'Neal brings him down, a loss of a yard, back to the 26. This defense is number 16 with the most takeaways in the National Football League, and John Thornton anchors the Bengal defensive line. First-round pick David Pollock makes his 2nd straight start, and Odell Thurman is one of the best rookies in the NFL. He's a 2nd-round pick, and Deltha O'Neal is number 2 in interceptions in the league.
Last play, Kevin, 10 defenders at the line of scrimmage for Cincinnati.
Steelers at the 27, 3rd and 3. And a quick pass incomplete for the third receiver, Cedric Wilson. The coverage on the play by Torrey James. And Pittsburgh has got a punt. 3 and out. Let's go to New York and Greg Gumbel.
All right, Kevin, in Houston, the Colts, unbeaten, trying to stay that way. 88-yard drive capped by Edgerrin James' 1-yard touchdown run. Coming up on 2 minutes to play in the first. The Colts lead it by 7, guys.
Edgerrin James, the second leading rusher. Thank you, Greg, in the National Football League.
Houston might be in battle red, but they may be in all red by the time Indy gets done beating on them.
Here's Nebraska undrafted player Kyle Larson to punt. Deep back is Kewan Ratliff. And that ball on a bounce will be retrieved at the 29 by Ratliff, who is chased by Brett Kiesel. Gets away from him. Now he's hemmed in and brought down hard. Clint Krewalt brings him down at the 23-yard line. He lost 6 yards on the return after the 44-yard punt. 7:33 to play in the first, and we're scoreless in Cincinnati.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Pizza Hut, home of America's favorite pan pizza. Gather round the good stuff. And by Mitsubishi, driven to thrill.
After the Chris Gardocki 44-yard punt. And a -6 return back to the 23. Cincinnati with it for the second time. Persky takes the place of Von Oelhoffen to begin things defensively for Pittsburgh. Kelly Washington is the third receiver. And this is Perry on the end around on 1st and 10. Knocked out of bounds by Chris Hope. And a flag is thrown on a late hit. The gain was to the 26 and a pickup of 3.
The last little push was in the white area, out of bounds. And with all the chipping and stuff these two teams have done back and forth early, not a bad idea really by the officials. Kind of take control and keep things going on in the green area, not outside the white.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, defense number 28. Threw the runner to the ground after he was out of bounds. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
To the 41-yard line.
Well, Hope got the credit, and he was the one leading the push, and it was out of bounds. It's a great idea, I think, to just assert control. That late push right there, you can't let the first guy get away with it, and then you're asking for a stream of it to start happening.
Hushmanzada, Henry Johnson, the 3 receivers. Rudy Johnson is in the backfield. It is a first down on the second Cincinnati possession from the 41, Rudy Johnson. And brought down by James Harrison, undrafted out of Kent State. The gain is for a yard to the 42-yard line. And let's revisit the first possession by the Bengals today.
Well, the graphic says last drive. It should be much ado about nothing. A lot of yards, a lot of time off the clock. 3 scoring opportunities and no points. Graham last yanking that thing left and coming away with 0 points. A lot of yards so far for Cincy, but
Chris Perry is in the slot, 2nd down 9. Von Oelhoffen back on the Pittsburgh defensive line from the 42. Palmer, Hushmanzada, chased by Porter, outraces him, then runs out of bounds at the 35-yard line. He's missed about 3 weeks of practice, the last 2 games with the bruised hand, but comes up with the big play, a 25-yard pickup, a great catch and run to the 33.
Pittsburgh bringing the blitz from Palmer's right side. And Hushmanzada, he was off. He was in the locker room for a little bit in that last possession by Pittsburgh. A little equipment problem. Came back just in time to get himself a nice little reception and take some pressure off the rookie Henry. He already has a drop touchdown.
Now tight end is in. 33-yard line, 1st and 10. Palmer has not thrown an interception in 18 quarters and doesn't here. Hushmanzada once again, first down catch. Out of bounds he goes at about the 21. Willie Williams ushers him out of play, gain of 12.
How about the look on Carson Palmer's face when we talked to him yesterday about, well, does Hushmanzada coming back? I mean, you've got Henry doing stuff and Walter. Is it that big a deal? Well, when you're getting a cushion that big and you've got a veteran receiver, that almost just says to Carson Palmer, hey, give me a first down to a guy I know is reliable.
Now 6 defensive backs, McFadden and Deshae Townsend are in. 1st and 10, 21-yard line. Palmer hit by Harrison, throws to Houshmandzadeh. And the gain is to the 12-yard line. Tackled on the play by Townsend and Polamalu, gain of 9. And on this drive, T.J. Houshmandzadeh has caught passes of 9, 12, and 23 yards.
Got the blitz coming after him. Nice read by Carson Palmer. Hang in, and that's a veteran receiver too. Houshmandzadeh gets right into the pocket, the dead area in the zone, and knows to throttle down for his quarterback, give him that nice target. Saw that 84 and hit it right in the middle.
Now 5 defensive backs. That's McFadden by himself in the secondary as the 5th defensive back. 2nd down 1, Palmer. Then outside incomplete, looking for Houshmandzadeh, covered by Polamalu. 3rd and 1. T.J. Houshmandzadeh, 7th round pick from Oregon State.
You know, another trip into the red zone for the Cincinnati offense. Coming into today, it was 46% on the touchdown side for the Bengals, and 0 for 1 today, so they're down to 44%. I guess it may be 0 for 2 with the overrule on the replays. One touchdown, the drop touchdown on the other one.
3rd and 1, they're going to put Matt Schobel in the backfield. Deshae Townsend has come back in, so 6 in the Pittsburgh secondary, 3rd and 1.
This is for pass protection more than likely.
Perry is in the game, slot receiver. And I think there may be a delay of game.
He had plenty of time to snap it. Sometimes you can worry too much about what they're doing and forget about what you're supposed to do.
Prior to the clock expiring, Cincinnati had called timeout. Timeout, Cincinnati. This is their 2nd.
So 4:37 to play in the 1st. The Bengals have 1 timeout remaining, but again are threatening on the Pittsburgh defense late in the 1st. Cincinnati just took their 2nd timeout. They've lost some points already.
Well, we talk about hidden yardage all the time in a football game. How about hidden points later on in a critical contest like this?
7th play of the drive, 3rd down and 1. That's Matt Schobel who's in motion. Rudy Johnson is in the backfield. Rudy Johnson gets the call. Bulldozing his way, it appears to be, for a first down at the 10-yard line on a gain of 2, and taken down by Van Olhoffen. They should move the chains. That is a first down. This drive began back on the 23-yard line. T.J. Houshmandzadeh has authored big gains through the air and then great running after the catch.
You know, I love Rudy Johnson. I love Perry running the ball. But Cincinnati's best chance to score against this Steeler defense is going to be sticking the ball to these receivers and letting them score you touchdowns.
5 in the secondary, 1st and goal from the 10. Rudy Johnson in the backfield. Henry is the 3rd Cincinnati receiver. Pass is caught by the tight end Kelly, who is quickly fallen upon by Foot at about the 6-yard line on a gain of 3. Reggie Kelly only makes his 6th reception of the season. First place Cincinnati. And with the 2nd best record in the National Football League at 5-1 against 2nd place Pittsburgh Steelers at 3-2.
The Bengals' 2nd big drive down into the red zone here. First one came away with a missed field goal.
2nd and goal at the 7. Not much there again. Harrison all over Rudy Johnson. Loss of a yard. Back to the 4.
Tell you what, Kevin, they're giving Chad Johnson a lot of pad, a lot of respect. And it's almost like they're telling them, look, we're going to catch the ball, let you catch the ball in front of us, then we're going to tackle you. I would do the same thing. I'd bring another receiver near him. I'd influence that receiver more to the middle of the field, leaving Chad more one-on-one with the guy giving him all that pad.
6 Pittsburgh defensive backs. 3rd down goal at the 8-yard line with Perry in the backfield. Palmer to the end zone. Incomplete, looking for Henry, who is covered on the play by fellow rookie Bryant McFadden, who is on a Florida State.
Well, normally you'd say in some situations a penny for your thought, but there's no telling what's going through a kicker's mind right about now. You've already yanked a short field goal, has Sean Graham, and now Marvin Lewis has to be a little bit less positive about easy points than he was just last series when this field goal was yanked to the left.
That 30-yard miss was his shortest since 2002. This is a 26-yard try. Very little wind inside Paul Brown Stadium this afternoon. Finally, they get something. But Pittsburgh again does their job. First and goal, they hold Cincinnati out. The Bengals get 3 in the first quarter, 2:37 to play. A 26-yard field goal by Graham. 3-0 Cincinnati, 2:37 first. Cincinnati's had it twice deep in Pittsburgh territory, and all they can say is they got 3 points.
Well, so far, the Pittsburgh defense has definitely frustrated Cincinnati. Smash mouth and lightning, we've seen some of that. No turnovers so far from the Cincinnati defense. That's the one thing that could turn this game big, is the Cincinnati Bengal defense doing what they've done in the previous 6 games, which is create turnovers at a pretty prodigious clip. They've had 21 of them so far, and heck, the year before Marvin Lewis got here, they had 20 for the season.
And something. Graham sets to kick off, and deep back is Quincy Morgan, who returned to kick off last week against Jacksonville. 72 yards. Ron Haynes is back there as well. And out of bounds it goes into the 40-yard line is where Roethlisberger and Pittsburgh will go for a first and 10.
Kickoff out of bounds.
From the
By
40.
rule, the ball will be placed at the 40-yard line. First down.
And tomorrow on CBS, an all-new beginning with TV's best lineup of comedies, The King of Queens, How I Met Your Mother, 2.5 Men, and Out of Practice, followed by Monday's #1 show, CSI Miami. Plus an all-new late show with David Letterman tomorrow on CBS, America's most watched network.
King of Queens, is that a cross between a king and a queen?
Well, we're in the Queen City.
Okay.
You're the king of the Queen City this week.
There you go. Yeah, right.
40-yard line because it was out of bounds, first and 10.
Gotta love this field position if you're Pittsburgh with Ben Roethlisberger back at quarterback. Don't be surprised if you see something deep.
Roethlisberger on first and 10. Here comes Parker. Brought down nicely on that line by Brian Robinson, a journeyman. 4-yard gain. He's out to the 44-yard line. Well, in week 5 against the Chargers, Ben Roethlisberger suffered a hyperextended and bruised left knee late in the 4th quarter. Big Ben missed last week's game against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Pittsburgh.
Don't you like his description of the injury, though? I moved my right leg, I bent back, and when you look at him and say, well, you're pretty lucky, weren't you? Well, I was real lucky.
Second down 6. Wilson is the 3rd receiver. In the backfield is the tight end Miller. Handoff goes to Parker, who is brought down at the 45. O'Halady makes the stop. Brian Simmons there as well. It's a meager gain of 1, bringing up 3rd down and 5. CBS Sports features 2 on-screen elements, Stat Tracks and Game Tracks. Stat Tracks at the top gives you updated information on today. Game Tracks on the bottom of your screen tells you about the rest of the NFL. 3rd and 5.
Perfect situation for this Bengals defense. 3rd and medium. Keep your eye on the top of the screen. The first-round pick, Pollock's up there rushing.
There's a 5th defensive back on the field. It is 3rd down and 5. Haynes is in the backfield with Roethlisberger. The blitz is on. Here comes Odell Thurman. Odell Thurman and flags all over the field.
Good enthusiasm, but about 1.5 yards, 2 yards early. He almost timed that right.
Offside. Defense number 51 was in the neutral zone at the snap. This 5-yard penalty will result in a first down.
This guy plays with a speed and a passion and a smile on his face as a rookie out of the University of Georgia, Odell Thurman, and just a little bit early. It's not the last time you're going to see it, though. This kid is a weapon. Talked about Pollock, the other rookie from Georgia. He's slowly coming along. Thurman came out steaming from the get-go. 1st and 10 midfield for Roethlisberger, the #1 rated quarterback in the NFL. Here comes Willie Parker, who was brought down by Case Fahard after a gain to the 44-yard line of 6 yards. Parker has been an interesting story, Randy, because
he has had some issues before coming into today, low rushing games, and there's Thurman, a guy that you like out of Georgia.
Well, you know, Parker's first 2 games were so good, and then his last 3 games, and so far we haven't seen Jerome Bettis, who really is the power to this running game, but Parker's every bit of the speed, but the heart of the running game is that offensive line.
Wilson is the 3rd receiver. Parker remains in the backfield, the end around to Hines Ward, battling a bad hamstring and brought down by Torrey James. The gain is to the 40 and close to a first down. That will take us to the end of the first quarter. Pittsburgh's defense has been a story. They have held the Bengals out of the end zone after 2 long drives. We start the second quarter. Pittsburgh's defense has played well. 2 long Cincinnati drives produced nothing but 3 points. This is the second possession by the Steelers. They got a 1st and 10. They began this drive on the 40-yard line. They're now at the 40 of Cincinnati. Jerome Bettis is in the game for the first time. Roethlisberger. And caught by the tight end, Heath Miller, the Mackey Award winner out of Virginia. He's down to the 20. He's tackled by Anthony Mitchell. It's a 21-yard gain and a first down to New York and Greg Gumbel.
All right, Kevin, in Houston, those unbeaten Colts starting to roll now. Peyton Manning, his 10th touchdown pass of the season. Dallas Clark on the receiving end, 31 yards and a 14-0 Indy lead. Early moments of the second quarter, guys.
And the Colts, Greg, have never started 7-0. They have a good shot today against winless Houston. 1st and 10 after the Miller 21-yard reception to the 20-yard line of Cincinnati. Jerome Bettis hit by Torrey James, the Pro Bowler from a year ago. He is brought down as Bettis at the 17 on a gain of 4.
Let's go back to the previous play to show you something what Jerome Bettis did against Odell Thurman, the rookie linebacker. Odell says, I've been watching this guy forever. I can't wait till I get a chance to touch the bus. Well, the bus touched him and got him on that blitz and gave his quarterback, Roethlisberger, the time to complete that pass.
2nd down 7 from the 16. The bus again. Great move, and now he's in open territory against James, and down he goes at the 7-yard line. It's a gain of 10. It's 1st and goal Pittsburgh on their 2nd drive of the day. Bettis makes it a goal-to-go situation.
I mentioned earlier the Pittsburgh Steeler kind of balance. This is on this drive, their 8th run against 2 passes. And this is the kind of football that Jerome Bettis wants to play. And when you're playing a divisional foe, that's the kind of stuff you get. You get the chipping, and you're trying to establish a little dominance.
1st and goal at the 7. Bettis again. And Jerome Bettis goes headlong into the secondary, where he is brought down by Hoholady out of USC. It's a gain of 6. Make it 5. They're going to mark it down at about the 2-yard line. They keep wiping the ball today, so we're getting a late spot. It is officially at the 2.
What's impressive about that stat right there, you see, is that they've scored every time. Now, obviously, you want the touchdown margin above 50%, more into the 65-70 in an ideal situation. But unlike the Bengals, who came away with only a field goal and 2 tries in the red zone, looks like the Steelers are going to pound it in from here.
2nd down and goal. 2 tight ends for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Great fake by Roethlisberger and an easy touchdown. That's to the tight end, Heath Miller, who for a 3rd consecutive game catches a touchdown in his rookie campaign.
Well, we're not the only ones thinking that they're going to pound it in with the bus. Miller lines up at that near tight end position, and it's just a gimme. I mean, that's like stealing. Everybody on the defense for Cincinnati bit so hard, I bet they broke a couple teeth.
Here's the extra point now by Jeff Reed, the Gardocki hold, the Greg Warren snap. Pittsburgh is on top for the first time today. Now 7-3 with 12:15 remaining. And remember, the kickoff by Cincinnati was out of bounds. Thus Pittsburgh began at the 40-yard line.
And the offsides by Odell Thurman kept that drive alive on 3rd and 5, setting up that easy touchdown by Roethlisberger, back after missing a week.
On that good-looking drive, Heath Miller, the rookie tight end from Virginia, had a 21-yard reception, then eventually the 2-yard touchdown reception from Roethlisberger. And it is 7-3 Pittsburgh with their second possession of the game, going in for 6. Now Reed will kick off, and the number 7 kickoff man in the NFL, Cam Perry, will take it, the rookie from the 15, and down it goes. Brett Kiesel is there to snuff him out at the 21-yard line, an 8-yard return. So Carson Palmer comes out with his Bengals down 7-3. Jerome Bettis with a terrific first look today. Roethlisberger with the touchdown pass. We've got 12-11 to play in the first half.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the Citi Simplicity Credit Card, the card that treats you right. Applebee's Neighborhood Grill and Bar, eating good in the neighborhood. And by LG Mobile Phones. LG, life's good.
With Randy Cross, Kevin Harlan, a Roethlisberger touchdown pass moments ago. Cincinnati missed a field goal. They've hit a field goal. This is their third possession from the 21, 1st and 10.
Maintain your poise if you're Cincinnati. So far, 11 runs, 12 passes. You are who you are. Stay that way.
Perry is in the backfield to begin it. 1st and 10 for Carson Palmer. And on 1st and 10, he's hit by Van Oelhoffen and brought down. The ex-Cincinnati Bengal, a 12-year veteran, Kimo Van Oelhoffen, drives him back 7 yards to the 14-yard line.
But a nice job swimming inside, coming from the top side of your screen. Kimo Van Oelhoffen just working against Levi Jones, the left tackle. The former Bengals spent his time back in the bad old days here in Cincinnati.
Bryant McFadden, the rookie out of Florida State, is now playing a cornerback in place of Willie Williams. 2nd and 17, they got to get to the 31. Perry remains in the backfield for Palmer. And Perry gets the call. The former Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year is drilled. Harrison got him. A gain of a yard to the 15.
Just want to revisit that touchdown real quick. Here's Miller. Here's Odell Thurman. They're going to rely on the rookie being aggressive. And when he attacks the run, he sees Kreider, he sees the bus, he thinks run. Miller gets out stock free. That's just game planning. That's planning on a young guy being enthusiastic.
6 in the secondary, 3rd and 16. Again, they got to get to the 31. Schobel is in the backfield in the gun with Perry, and Palmer gets the Graham snap. They dump it off to Chris Perry. Breaks a tackle of Ferrier, then is brought down on the play by Foot and by Chris Hope. He's out to the 26. He picks up 11, and he is shy of a first down by 5. And a punt coming up for the first time today for the Cincinnati Bengals. And that will bring out Kyle Larson with his first punt. And deep back, Antoine Randall, who returned to punt last week, 72 yards for a touchdown.
And on that series, the Pittsburgh defense kind of imposed their will on Carson Palmer in that Bengals offense.
Randall waves it off, and it touched Ohalady, and it should have been marked down as it was at about the 32-yard line. Let's see where they spot it, which they are discussing right now. We've got 10:06 to play in the second quarter. Pittsburgh on top here. Log on to NFL.com and vote for the 2006 Pro Bowl teams that'll face off in Hawaii. Check it out at NFL.com or NFL on AOL. Touchdown pass by Roethlisberger. This is the 3rd Pittsburgh possession, beginning at the 35, and there is the bus back in for a second series. He gets away from Robinson. Roethlisberger throws. Nice play by Case Fajarn, jumping in front of Wilson, the ex-49er. 2nd down and 10.
Yeah, one of the great mysteries of the universe is to have somebody corner you in an airport or in a hotel or somewhere and say, can you explain the quarterback ratings to me? But regardless, you look at the quarterback ratings around the league, and the top 3 guys, you know, Ben Roethlisberger, Carson Palmer, Drew Bledsoe. Who said the big strong-arm quarterback was dead in the NFL?
Wilson remains the third wide receiver. Kewan Ratliff is coming as a fifth defensive back for Cincinnati. Second down and 10. 35-yard line. Miller, the tight end, in motion out of the backfield. That's caught by Miller, the former high school quarterback who is game tackled at the 45-yard line. Hit by many, among them was Odell Thurman. Gain of 10. That is a first down.
You know, he's starting to play tight end like the tight end they drafted out of University of Virginia. And that's a guy that has good hands, that came to college as a quarterback, but now plays tight end and runs with the ball like a linebacker. He looks for contact once he gets that ball.
He caught 4 passes last week to lead the Steelers. First time a Pittsburgh tight end has led them in receiving since 1994. First and 10, 45-yard line, the bus. Corkscrewing his way to midfield and brought down on the play, it looked like, by David Pollock. Gain of 5.
Remember, coming into that play, Jerome Bettis had 3 carries for 18 yards, picked up those yards, and you say, oh, geez, he's contributing, he's running. Well, that doesn't count the night's blitz pickup he did on Odell Thurman to allow Roethlisberger to throw the one pass, and the play-action fake he gave those linebackers to enable Heath Miller to get himself a touchdown.
Back to a nickel secondary. Ratliff is back in among 5 defensive backs. Second down and 5 for Pittsburgh's offense, 50-yard line. Jerome Bettis, the 5th all-time leading rusher in the National Football League, is brought down on the play by Ratliff. He's down to the 47, and he picks up 3.
And there's one dancer missing from this little Pittsburgh dance we're watching right now, and that's Hines Ward. No passes yet to Hines Ward. Remember, Hines Ward came in here off that nursing that hamstring injury. So far, not much of a presence. All the completions throwing the ball for Ben Roethlisberger have been to his tight end Miller.
Ward, Randall L., Wilson are the receivers. Ron Haynes is in the backfield, 3rd and 2. They got to get just inside the 45. Nickel secondary and a timeout taken by Roethlisberger. Just beat the play clock. 7:54 in the second. Roethlisberger has thrown a touchdown pass today, and he's moving his offense again.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Garmin. We'll take you there. And by Miller. There's good enough, and there's better than it has to be. Miller. Good call.
Pittsburgh Steelers have won 9 consecutive games on the road. They lead on a Roethlisberger touchdown pass, 7-3, just under 8 to play in the second. They've just burned their second timeout. They're facing 3rd and 2. They've got Haynes in the backfield. The 3 receivers are Randall L., Wilson, and Ward. 3rd and 2 from the 47. Haynes, end around handoff. Cedric Wilson, who has got the first down, being chased by Pollock and out of bounds. Flag is down at the 48.
It's going to be a hold.
Wilson is playing with a broken wrist today. On that end around, it was a 15-yard gain that looks to be wiped out.
I think it was Hines Ward blocking on the bottom of the screen, got an early little twist, and then threw his hands up like, whoop, not me. And he's also the one, remember the old, what's the other Shakespeare? We already got much ado about nothing. How about methinks he doth protest too much?
Wow.
Holding offense, number 86. This 10-yard penalty will be assessed to the previous spot. Repeat, 3rd down.
See, officials will look at body motion a lot, too. Watch how Torrey James's body turns. See, Hines Ward's got him inside. He's got him. He turns. And the official has got to think who's standing off to the side. And the official's over here. See it right there in the corner of the screen? The official's on the side. He sees that body turn away from the ball where a defender shouldn't go, and he thinks hold.
Same offensive alignment, 3rd and 12. They need the 45 of Cincinnati. Five in the secondary. Roethlisberger and caught by Hines Ward, who is down to the 39. It's an 18-yard pickup and a taunting call on Ward.
He slammed that ball right at the feet of the Cincinnati defender, and it's going to be added back.
And he better get away because he's hot-headed right now.
Well, there's quite a few heads in this game right now you could fry an egg on. These guys are fired up, and right now, let's see Bill settle down, settle down.
Taunting offense, number 86, spiking the ball at the players on the defense. This 15-yard penalty will be assessed, and the result will still be a first down.
So he still makes the grab, which is the 524th of his career, 14 away from the all-time Steeler record.
And a nice job running the route. Now, just end it where you were getting up. Don't do the little taunt and the scream and the yell and the first. I mean, the scream and the yell on the first down's fine. Just don't slam the ball down at the feet of the defender. That's the taunting part.
So now it is a first down. It's at the 46-yard line. Parker is back in the game. And the 43 defense is back intact for Cincinnati. From the Pittsburgh 46, Willie Parker, undrafted out of North Carolina, takes it up and is brought down on the play by Case Fajarn. Pickup of 8, shooting his way to the 47 of Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's one thing about this Willie Parker is everyone talks about him being a fast guy. But you saw that last run, and obviously the offensive line does their usual stellar job up front, but he not only runs fast, but he runs fast and strong. He's got very powerful lower body.
Second down 2, 46. Parker again. Brian Simmons out of North Carolina, #1 pick and the longest tenured Bengal, brings him down, and there is no gain on the play. It'll be 3rd and 2 from the 46. And there's Bettis back in the game.
When we talk about missing ingredients in this ball game, if you're a Bengals fan, the missing ingredients in here is the big defensive play, the big critical 3rd down stop, the tip ball, the turnover. That's how Cincinnati's made their living on defense this year so far.
No changes on the defense for the Bengals. 3rd and 2. Bettis in the game. Pittsburgh's offense, 46-yard line. And Jerome Bettis finds the gap and the first down and continues to bulldoze defenders. Finally brought down at the 31-yard line by Simmons. A 15-yard rampage, and it's a 1st and 10 for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
This is all about these guys right up here. The offensive line just does a wonderful job up front. Talk about physically manhandling a front in a 3rd and short. That's Steeler football. And when this team is effective, it's when those 5 offensive linemen are dominating up front.
Parker is back in. 9th play of the Pittsburgh drive. 3rd possession of the day. 1st and 10. Here comes the blitz, and down he goes. It's Dwayne Clemens, who has either led or finished 2nd in Cincinnati sacks the last 2 years. And that is the first sack for Cincinnati's defense, Randy, in 10 quarters. A loss of 10.
I should have added when they're at their best is when they're consistently effective. The offensive line goes from 3rd and short to dominating to 1st and 10 and sieve on their young quarterback Roethlisberger. Remember, coming back from that knee injury against San Diego 2 weeks ago, you should take extra care of your QB.
Roethlisberger was sacked here 7 times last year. 2nd down and 20. Good block by Starks. Roethlisberger chased by Justin Smith, and it's almost picked off by James. Roethlisberger is the only quarterback in the NFL who has not thrown an interception.
And quarterbacks like Roethlisberger and Carson Palmer, besides being young and strong, are some of the few quarterbacks that would even try this pass because they have the arm and the strength to do it. And Antoine Randall got away with a little bit of a push-off to try to get that pass, but
6 in the secondary. Anthony Mitchell and Kewan Ratliff. It is 3rd and 20. They need the 20-yard line. They're at the 40. Haynes is at the side of Roethlisberger. Great time, and almost picked off by Deltha O'Neal on a pass intended for Antoine Randall at the 12. It's 4th and 20, and the Steelers have got a punt for a 2nd time today.
Probably one that Deltha O'Neal should have had. Chuck Bresnahan, their defensive coordinator, told me last year in 2004, Deltha O'Neal dropped 8 interceptions. And I know a nice job by Ward, the receiver, trying to distract him, but that was an excellent opportunity right there by Deltha O'Neal to get himself another pick. Would have been 5 on the year.
Chris Gardocki will punt. Second punt today. He had one deflected last week in Pittsburgh. Kewan Ratliff, 2 years out of Florida, is deep back. And fair caught, probably unwisely, at the 6-yard line on a 34-yard Gardocki punt. Tonight on Cold Case, how do you solve a murder when every suspect is insane? Don't miss a new episode of Sunday's hit drama Cold Case. That's tonight on CBS, America's most watched network. Here in Cincinnati, Ben Roethlisberger has thrown a touchdown pass, his 8th of the season, 2 yards to the tight end Miller. A missed field goal, a made field goal for the Bengals, 7-3 Pittsburgh.
And after 2 excursions into the red zone against the Steelers defense, this Cincinnati offense was stuffed by the Pittsburgh defense last time out. What can they do backed up like this? And you see Bill Cowher talking to Hines Ward, and, you know, Ward gets punched. He got the 2 penalties on the last possession. He's been out for a week. You know, just some days go like this.
McFadden still stays the rookie corner at the cornerback position, the right side. 1st and 10 from the 7. And this is caught by Hushmanzada, who is brought down by the aforementioned McFadden at the 15-yard line. It's a gain of 8. McFadden was a second-round pick out of Florida State, 3rd-team All-America a season ago.
And this beleaguered, not beleaguered, but injured defensive backfield is going to have some issues against Carson Palmer and these receivers if the front 7 can't create a way to get pressure on Carson Palmer. He's got a very good offensive line that pass blocks well, and one of the strongest arms in the league.
Kelly Washington is the 3rd Cincinnati receiver. Rudy Johnson in the backfield. And what a catch. Chad Johnson diving at the 35-yard line, brought down by Hope. And it's a 20-yard reception. And the first reception by Chad Johnson today.
Once again, getting that big pad up top, not getting the pressure you need on Palmer. And Chad Johnson adjusting and making a circus catch, just leaving his feet, looking it in, and adjusting beautifully to that pass by Carson Palmer.
1st and 10, 35. Blocked by Rudy Johnson, and Palmer has time, and Chad Johnson again is brought down by Ike Taylor. Flag is thrown, 48-yard line. It was caught there. It's a gain of 13 yards.
Unnecessary roughness. He picks him up. He picks up Chad Johnson, does Ike Taylor, and slams him down over his shoulder onto his head. That's going to be the penalty called.
Looked like Palomalu did the other night in San Diego.
Kind of goes back to Joe Turkey Jones of Cleveland spiking Terry Bradshaw into the turf.
Right.
Another old
Great
AFC
memory,
Central
yes.
game.
That's exactly right.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, defense number 24. Pick a player up and unnecessarily took him to the ground. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
This sets up another great field position for the Cincinnati Bengals, and they're starting to move back towards that red zone. And don't forget, 2 deep excursions into the red zone and only a field goal so far. Carson Palmer and this offense need to finish off their work, especially if this Steeler defensive backfield keeps giving him such big pads on the corners.
Each team with a timeout. Kershke is on the defensive line for Von Oelhoffen. It is a 1st and 10, 38-yard line, Cincinnati, with their 4th possession today. Carson Palmer. That's the tight end Kelly, and brought down by both Harrison and the other linebacker Ferrier. Gain of 5 to the 33. We've reached the 2-minute warning. A Roethlisberger touchdown pass, a field goal by the Bengals, but Palmer has his team moving. He's in scoring territory at the 2-minute warning. Coming up on the Sprint Halftime Report, join Greg Gumbel and company for all the latest scores and highlights in a busy week in the NFL. That's the Sprint Halftime coming up with Randy Cross. Kevin Harlan, a Roethlisberger touchdown pass, the difference in the game.
So far, the big story has been the mistakes of the Bengals. You know, some of them have been referee, official related. Some have been dropped, some have been offside, some have been yanked. The bottom line is most have been induced by themselves and not by the Steelers. The Steelers are playing very smart, aggressive football, and the Bengals are making the mistakes.
The defense for Pittsburgh faced two very early onslaughts by Cincinnati's offense, keeping him only to 3 points. They missed a field goal on the first try, the Bengals did. Then they nailed a 26-yard field goal the second time. The Pittsburgh defense, as those numbers in that video just pointed out, really held their own, and now they lead 7-3 with Heath Miller's touchdown reception earlier in the game.
Dick LeBeau, the father of this Blitzburgh defense, where Marvin Lewis spent some time when Bill Cowher first hired a staff in '92. He had him as a linebacker coach, and Dick LeBeau's defense has come up with some big plays so far today. And you saw Bill Cowher meeting with the officials. I'm sure he was asking for some sort of explanation about all these personal fouls and flags that were being thrown against his team.
Second down and 5, a timeout for the Steelers and a timeout for Cincinnati from the 33. Perry is in the backfield and gets the call. Nice fake on foot, hit by Ferrier and grabbed by Hope. He's down to the 22-yard line. A catch and run of 11 yards by Chris Perry, who has been absolutely sensational this season after missing most of last year with a series of injuries.
It's that stop and go, that cut and go that he has that adds the wiggle to this offense. Remember back in the days of that James Brooks here?
Yes, good comparison.
When they had the hammer with Pete Johnson and those kind of guys. This gives them a great second option offensively. Don't forget, Pittsburgh banged up defensive backs.
6 in the secondary. They brought in Deshae Townsend. They brought in Williams. It's 1st and 10 from the Pittsburgh 22. Rudy Johnson back in. Rudy Johnson gets the pass. Logan brings him down at about the 22-yard line. No gain on the play. Now Palmer has hit his last 7 consecutive passes.
Going to call a couple plays in the huddle. Did a little check with me. First down, quick one, not really a hurry-up offense. Is trying to catch Pittsburgh in the same package.
2nd and 10. Schobel is in the backfield with Johnson. The pass to Rudy Johnson, tripped up by Ferrier, the Pro Bowler last season. For the first time in his career, it's a gain of 1 to the 21, and Cincinnati has just burned their final timeout. 41 seconds to play and threatening again. Sprint halftime report coming up. Greg Gumbel and crew in New York. Scores and highlights. The Sprint halftime from New York is next with Randy Cross, Kevin Harlan. This Cincinnati drive began on the 7th. Completions of 13 yards and 20 yards to Chad Johnson. An 11-yard catch and run by Perry. 3rd and 9 after Cincinnati's final timeout at the Pittsburgh 21. Perry back in the game. And Palmer looking into 6 defensive backs for Pittsburgh. Throws, and it's caught out of bounds with the coverage by Taylor and the reception by Chad Johnson, but out of play at the 13. Incomplete pass.
And Chad Johnson trying to plead his case, saying he was forced out. Now, if you would have come down in bounds, you can be forced out. But if you're leaping and jumping, push or no push, and he was jumping out of bounds when he caught that pass. It was a nice try. You can't blame him for pleading his case, but again, they have to settle for a field goal with a kicker that's 1 for 2.
He's number 4 in points scored is Shane Graham. This will be a 39-yard attempt. And the snap looked to move just a little bit on the hold, but he gets it through. The hold was by Kyle Larson. I don't know if there was a slippage there or not. Nonetheless, they get it through, and they come to within 1 point of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All in all, this first half performance, pretty strong character statement by Cincinnati. Despite the mistakes, they're hanging in with the Steelers.
The Pittsburgh Steelers have won 5 of the last 6 games against the Cincinnati Bengals, sweeping them last year. Chad Johnson said that will not happen this year on that last drive, which set up a 39-yard field goal, a 13-yard catch, a 20-yard catch. He's played pretty well so far in this first half.
You know, as has this offense in 2005. You saw a graphic earlier about 28 points. Now 31 points scored in the last 2 minutes of the half. I mean, that is how you play offensive football. You never take your foot off the gas. You keep it going all the way till triple zeros on the scoreboard. It's how it's always, that's the cliche. They say that's what you want to do. Carson Palmer in this offense has pulled that off this year.
Shane Graham will kick off after his 39-yard field goal, his second field goal today. The Steelers will have a timeout. You got 28 seconds to play in the half. And a little chip shot, which Morgan out of Kansas State takes at the 17-yard line. Gets a nice block from Andre Frazier, then is brought down by Marcus Wilkins at about the 29-yard line. A 13-yard return. As you take a look at Ben Roethlisberger, who is 16-1 as a regular season starter. Wednesday on CBS, Criminal Minds is TV's top new crime drama, keeping millions on the edge of their seats. See why. Wednesdays on CBS, America's most watched network. So they're going to go to a knee with Hines Ward in the backfield and the defense preparing as such. Cincinnati has no timeouts. The one remaining for Pittsburgh will stay on the board. Roethlisberger throws a touchdown pass and 2 field goals for Marvin Lewis's offense after threatening numerous times in the first half. It's Pittsburgh 7 and Cincinnati 6. Back with the Sprint halftime report after this word from your local station as you're watching the NFL on CBS. This game has had the intensity of the old days here in the jungle. First place, Cincinnati trailing by 1, 7-6 to Pittsburgh.
You know, Kevin, Greg Gumbel started this day off on the NFL Today saying this is throwback Sunday on the NFL. This has been throwback, you know, so far in the first half. It's been AFC Central. It's been the old smash mouth kind of football. Some mistakes. It's not really about the yards and the points that have been out on the field. It's the yards and the points that haven't been out on the field. Cincinnati's had some opportunities they haven't taken advantage of, and you know, they say stats are for losers. Well, stats are for the team that's behind in this case. They have more plays, more yards, more everything except for points.
Folks, a reminder, this game this afternoon is being brought to you in high definition. Even if Cincinnati loses, they are still in first place today because they come in leading by a game and a half. But boy, they can make things a lot different if they go on to win.
Because of Marvin Lewis, though, this is a different organization. This is a different football team. Win or lose, the Bengals are a force in the AFC in 2005.
So we start the second half. Quincy Morgan, the ex-Brown and Dallas Cowboy, will take it, and he's brought down by Marcus Wilkins, hit head-on at the 30-yard line, a 19-yard return. And let's take a look at our fantasy notebook.
Well, another one of the giveaways to the hearkening back to the AFC Central days of yore is when one team's leading receiver is a tight end and the running backs are slamming the ball and being physical like Bettis and Johnson are. And you know, Heath Miller for the team that's leading has got the touchdown and the most receptions.
Parker is in the backfield. It is 1st and 10 from the 31. There are 2 tight ends. Parker follows both those tight ends into the grasp of Justin Smith. First-round pick out of Missouri for Cincinnati. Gain of 5 to the 36.
And this Pittsburgh offense, you know, has been very economical. They made some mistakes. You know, Hines Ward late in the second half had that personal foul and a holding penalty and sort of broke up the rhythm of this Pittsburgh offense. But this is the kind of game, when you study the Pittsburgh Steelers, why do they win these close ones? They win because of poise, because they don't turn it over like they did last week, and because their line controls the football game.
2 Pittsburgh tight ends have been taken out. Kreider, the fullback, brought in along with Wilson, the 3rd receiver. 2nd down and 5 for Roethlisberger. Intercepted the first time Roethlisberger's been picked off this season. And it's Torrey James. Oh, now they're going to wipe it away. Or are they? One official was waving his arms. The other one signaled interception. It is a pick. It is the first time that Roethlisberger has been intercepted this season in 110 passes. That is the first time.
And that's Cincinnati Bengals football 2005. We talked about the 21 turnovers coming in here, and it's no one particular player. Deltha O'Neal has 4 interceptions, but this entire defensive backfield spreads it around.
So look where the Bengals begin. Their best beginning field position today, the Steeler 49.
Of the
first and 10, the pitch out to Chris Perry. Tried to cut back, and he fumbles on the play, and it's loose, and there's Von Oelhoffen vacuuming in the ball. But did they mark him down? They did at the 48-yard line on a hit initially by Aaron Smith of the Steeler defensive line. And then Harrison, that's a fumble.
Yeah, I think that thing is out before he's ever on the ground.
It's a loss of 3 as it stands now at the 47-yard line.
You know, of the 22 takeaways by the Bengals, 13 of those were in their opponent's territory. So they're scoring points off turnovers at a pretty good clip.
McFadden is the rookie cornerback, still in for a very banged-up secondary. Second down, 13. They need the 39.
Ruled down by contact. That call cannot be challenged.
Rudy Johnson. And he goes right into Larry Foote, a 4th-round pick a couple years ago out of Michigan. Gain of 5 down to the 47.
One more time on Perry. He's ruled down, but the whistle blows here. He's down by contact. The official's coming in from the side, pointing to the ground. Whistle is blown. Play is over.
6 in the Pittsburgh secondary. They bring in Logan. They bring in Deshae Townsend. 3rd and 8. They need the 39. Chris Perry is back in the game. Washington is the 3rd receiver. And Kevin Walter is in there too. And here comes Palmer. Intercepted right back. Chris Hope grabs it for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he's got an entourage, and he gets by Bobby Williams, and he gets a block from Polamalu, and he takes it inside the 15. And he's brought down by offensive lineman Willie Anderson at the 15-yard line. A return of 50 yards, and Palmer throws just his 3rd interception of the year. The first time in 19 quarters he has thrown a pick.
And what a nice job by Hope. Hope's located in the bottom of the screen. You can't even see him in this end zone look, but he's looking at Palmer. He breaks on the ball. Look at him come right under Houshmandzadeh, I'm sorry, and right there he is. Good blocking. Excellent job there by the Pittsburgh D.
15-yard line, 1st and 10. Heath Miller upended by Deltha O'Neal. It's a gain of 3 to the 12-yard line.
One more time, a great jump coming from that center field. Hope does a perfect job of anticipating Palmer. And Polamalu, one of his lead blockers, puts a nice little hit right there, 43, working on his old roomie, Carson Palmer. Last year he intercepted a pass and ran him over at the goal line, and there he hunted him up on an interception.
Bettis is in the backfield, 2nd down, 7 from the 12. This is Jerome Bettis. Met and brought down by Brian Simmons, gain of 1 at the 11.
And what I was talking about, the reference to last year, these are guys that lived together when they were at USC, and no one you like to do this to more than a guy you played with and you know well. Intercept the ball that he throws, then when he's the last guy trying to tackle you, give him a little kiss, give him a little love tap. There you go, you run him over on the way to the end zone.
Wilson, Randall Allen, Hines Ward are the 3 receivers. Hayes is in the backfield, 3rd down and 6. Bauman is the 5th defensive back. It's a shovel pass. It's to Heath Miller, who is read perfectly by Ohalady. And it's a gain of 2. Ifeani Ohalady, who played last season with Arizona, comes up with a big stick from the secondary for Cincinnati. And it is a play of 2 yards and they mark the ball at about the 9. Make it the 9-yard line is where they finally spot it.
Well, Old Lady was the first one to be there, but that was an excellent job of reading and reacting by the whole inside of the Cincinnati Bengals defense. That play had absolutely no shot of success.
So here is Jeff Reed, who is 8 of 10 kicking field goals this year. This will be a 27-yard try. He has made 22 consecutive field goal attempts inside the 40. Make it 23 straight and tack on 3 more for Pittsburgh. So the Steelers cash in on Chris Hope's interception. Steelers on top on a 27-yard field goal and a touchdown pass early in the game by Roethlisberger. But look what's happened over the last handful of minutes. Both quarterbacks have thrown interceptions. Both quarterbacks have been perfect almost in that category all season long.
And the Steelers turned the tables on Marvin Lewis's Bengals, who have made their living this year with points off turnovers. 70 points coming into this game off of turnovers.
Reed to kick off, and Tab Perry is back. He is a rookie out of UCLA and the 7th leading kickoff man in the NFL. Breaks a Logan tackle and finally is brought down by Iwoma at the 19-yard line. Chidi Iwoma makes the tackle. They're out to the 24. 10:02 to play in the third, and a beauty in Cincinnati.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Burger King. BK Chicken Fries, now available in a 12-piece. Have it your way at Burger King. DirecTV, NFL Sunday Ticket, only from DirecTV. And by IBM, become an on-demand business. IBM can help.
With Randy Cross, Kevin Harlan in Cincinnati, 10-6 Steelers. We came in with the 2 top-rated quarterbacks in the National Football League in this afternoon's game.
And Carson Palmer, 9 straight games, tying an NFL record of over 100+ in his rating. But both these young quarterbacks, the refreshing thing to me about them, they care about wins. They could care less about numbers.
It's first down and 10 after the Pittsburgh kickoff, after they had the 27-yard field goal from the 24-yard line for Carson Palmer. And caught by Chad Johnson. Polamalu shoves him out of bounds near the 39-yard line. A 16-yard pickup and a first down. Thursday on Survivor, suspicions are rising about former NFL quarterback Gary Hogeboom. Will his identity finally be revealed? Don't miss TV's #1 reality show, Survivor, Thursdays on CBS.
If they can't guess, it tells you about how much he played.
So after that 15-yard reception to the 39, 1st and 10. Rudy Johnson running outside, chased by Foot, and Polamalu comes over there with that long mane and brings him down. 11-yard run near midfield and a first down.
Now, you know, quarterback rating, I told you, somebody eventually is going to trap you and say, I got to have it. What's it do? Well, you know, we did that opener with Ben Roethlisberger. He was perfect. Now, my one question when I always look at a quarterback rating system, and I like that 158.3 is high and south. How come it's not 100? How come perfect's not 100, and then you rate down from there?
Too easy. Perry is a receiver at the bottom of your screen. The running back Chris Perry on 1st and 10, and that ball's knocked away. It's loose, and I think it's been intercepted. It has, inside by Aaron Smith, the Pro Bowler, with his first career interception. Von Oelhoffen may have deflected the pass, may have stopped the cocked right shooting hand of the quarterback, but Smith got the ball.
Look right, know you've got a back left, go to throw it. The veteran Oelhoffen hits it, and Smith gets himself a pick. Fantasy camp.
At the 47-yard line at Cincinnati.
There's Kimo von Oelhoffen, there's Aaron Smith, and just a nice job by the veteran getting the hands up, batting down the ball. Doing that the last second and setting up his buddy. He was running to the other sideline.
47-yard line, yeah, 47-yard line, first down and 10. Parker in the backfield. Nice block by Faneca that opened up some room for Parker, who was eventually brought down by Deltha O'Neal at the 41. We'll call it a gain of 7 yards. It's second down. David Pollock is out for the game with the knee injury, and their nickelback, Kewan Ratliff, their 5th defensive back, he is being looked at right now in the locker room. There's Palmer with the 2 interceptions.
Landon Johnson means he's in a strong side linebacker who started the first 5 games of the season.
Second down 3 from the Cincinnati 40. Parker again grabbed by Simmons, close to a first down on a gain of about 3 yards. Parker, who's had in his last, he began the season terrifically with 161 yards against Tennessee in the opener. Then he's kind of gone down. In the last 3 games, 55 against New England, 26 against San Diego, and 55 last week against Jacksonville.
But this is the part of the game where you expect the Steelers to sort of be the Steelers, which means running the ball, which means imposing your will. They've imposed their will on this division, whether it was the AFC Central or the AFC North, you know, seems like forever. And they've done it with a very physical style of play. Jerome Bettis for a lot of years was running the ball, but Bill Cowher just demands a physical football team. And they've got to think that if we can run the ball, if we can impose our will, Cincinnati will remember that we're better than that.
37-yard line. This possession set up on an interception of Palmer. First down and 10. Kreider is the lead back for Parker. Great block by Hines Ward, and there goes fast Willie Parker going to the end zone for a touchdown. A 37-yard gallop.
Very little temporarily rips the heart out of a defense faster than a big running play. You run the ball a couple times physically in the middle, and then you run with your fast running back, Willie Parker. Takes advantage of excellent blocking. The last one by Hines Ward with a little kick out. There's a little of that lower body strength I was talking about. And he's got a lot of scoot in his get-along. That guy can get it.
3rd rushing touchdown this season for Willie Parker. A guy who says he has learned a great deal of patience from players like Deuce Staley and Jerome Bettis in practice. He says, wait till the block develops, like right here, and it did, and there he goes, and the Pittsburgh Steelers on top 17-6. 7:48 to play in the 3rd.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the new Sprint, the official telecommunications service sponsor of the NFL. And by Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Two consecutive Cincinnati quarterback Carson Palmer interceptions have been converted into 10 Pittsburgh points. Moments ago, fast Willie Parker, a 37-yard touchdown run, 17-6. The Steelers have scored their last 2 possessions. And the ensuing kickoff, and Tab Perry from UCLA at the 5. Gets a block from Matt Schobel. He gets a block from Mitchell. Yellow on the field. The kicker, Reed, knocks him out of bounds at about the 47-yard line. And as it stands now, about a 46-yard return.
That flag came from deep downtown, which usually means a holding inside or a push in the back. I'm saying it's a holding inside.
Mike Logan, I see one of the injured in the secondary, is limping off the field for Pittsburgh. Something they do not need.
During the return of the kick, holding, receiving team, number 55, 10-yard penalty, first down.
I want you to look at something on this touchdown. Look at the rookie Odell Thurman. His job is to scrape into the hole on the outside. Watch the pile that's created that bumps him off, that delays him. He can't get into that hole. Willie Parker's able to take advantage of that.
And showing some of that patience, right?
Oh, exactly.
Reading that blocking.
Jerome Bettis, Deuce Staley.
So now from the 25-yard line, Cincinnati begins it, first down and 10. The 3rd receiver is the rookie Henry. And they've got Rudy Johnson running up the middle, and he is brought down on the play by Smith and by Ferrier on a gain of 3 to the 27-yard line. CBS is number 1 for the 4th consecutive year. Catch the new hit comedies and dramas and all your favorites that make CBS America's most watched network.
Kevin, on that whole exchange with the penalty and the return by Tab Perry, they lost 28 yards. So they lost 28 yards of those hidden yards.
2nd down 7, they need the 34. And incomplete right through the hands of Rudy Johnson, covered on the play by Larry Foote. It'll be 3rd and 7.
And right now, this is a case of the Pittsburgh defense. We talked about that one possession where they imposed their will, where the punch is at the top. Well, since this half started, you've seen a lot of Pittsburgh defense and a Cincinnati offense that is just out of sync, just not working quite right, because Dick LeBeau's defense is all in Carson Palmer's face.
6 defensive backs with Logan out. Tyrone Carter's taking his place. Deshae Townsend back there as well. 3rd and 7. And here comes Palmer, and he is brought down by Harrison and by Foote. At the 29, he only gains a couple yards, and Cincinnati has got a punt, and the Steelers are tightening their defensive screws.
And when you talk about tightening the screws, as a pocket, you want to tighten them into the sides like this. And watch exactly what happens is Carson Palmer feels pressure. He has to step up. He's getting the safety blitz by Hope. And here come those screws on the side, tightening down that pocket.
Kyle Larson, the punt for Cincinnati. Antoine Randall is back. This is a put off the side of his foot, which Randall takes at the 32, then just gently walks out of bounds at about the 40-yard line. The clock is at 6:16 in the 3rd. It's a 44-yard punt, and we've got a timeout. Steelers on top with 2 minutes remaining in our NFL.com poll. You're down 21-17. Which current quarterback would you want leading your team? Cast your vote at NFL.com.
I just did. And if you don't pick Tom Brady, I don't know what you're smoking, but you might want to think about changing brand.
The 40-yard line, 1st and 10. 2 tight ends in there, and Bettis in the backfield. And he provides a block, and Roethlisberger throws to one of those 2 tight ends, Heath Miller, who is banged by Landon Johnson. The gain is to the 39. It's a pickup of 21 yards in the play. Landon Johnson is taking the place of the injured David Pollard.
Well, if you remember Benji Cunningham, then you are a Steeler fan, because that was the last time they had a real threat at tight end as a receiver. And this young receiver out of Virginia led him in receiving last week, and has proven if you throw it to me, I will catch it.
He had 6 catches today at career high. He had 4 last week. 39, 1st and 10. The bus ran into his own blocker, Kendall Simmons, and kind of rolls over him and forward for about 3 to the 36.
Marvin Lewis's football team right now needs to take control of this drive and take the momentum away from Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh is imposing Pittsburgh football on the Bengals. And to the Bengals fans, this has got to look alarmingly familiar. They've won 21 of the last 28 meetings between these teams playing this style of football.
Cincy stays in their 4-3, 2nd down, long 37-yard line. Bettis remains. And Bettis gets the call, and he is brought down there. It's a kind of tackle that the Bengal defense needed, and Justin Smith, who leads them in sacks, has Bettis in his grasp for no gain. 37 it stays.
And one thing Bill Cowher emphasizes is how you play on the road. We've seen Miami the last couple weeks, who Nick Saban can't get his team to win on the road. Not a problem for these Steelers. It would be a franchise record 10 in a row if they win this one today.
7 defensive backs, James and Bauman and O'Neal, O'Halady, Brooks, Mitchell, 3rd and 7. They need the 29. Haynes is at the side of Roethlisberger. Morgan is in motion for Pittsburgh's offense. Roethlisberger will run. And buying time to the end zone. He's got Hines Ward caught, and a touchdown.
No.
Oh, he bobbled the ball in the end zone. And he had it, and he is down.
He landed on the ball.
Missing last week with the hamstring.
Was very, very quiet, the game from Hines Ward, since the end of that first half when he had the penalties. The one catch and the taunting, and the other one with the hold. We've got a flag on the field.
Defense number 42. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
So illegal contact, it's going to be first down. But you see the first thing that hit when Hines Ward came down was that hip. And I don't care if it's artificial surface, grass, whatever. That's a hip pointer waiting to happen right there. Bang. You have very little padding. Even those of us that have too much padding have no padding around those hip bones in the side of side of your body.
And he had to go up that high because there was all kinds of defenders in front of him. He had to leap above the fray. And Roethlisberger did a great job just to get that pass away.
And here's Randall L. right here on the right side of the screen. And Mitchell, the defender, comes in, makes the contact, and that's well past the 5-yard mark. That's about 20 yards down the field, and that is the play you didn't need.
By the way, if there's any question about Roethlisberger's knee, I think it was answered on that little dance right there.
That's a young, aggressive quarterback like Ben Roethlisberger. That's what Roethlisberger and Carson Palmer do now at this age. Eventually, they'll mature into a Drew Bledsoe. They won't be able to run like Bledsoe can't run. But now when they're young, you take advantage of that mobility.
Since he's back in their 43 defense, all those defensive backs have been taken out. It's a first down at the 32-yard line. Wilson takes the place of Ward. Bettis runs into Dwayne Clemens, and the two wrestle their way for a gain of 3 to about the 29.
So, you know, if you're thinking of defending a team like Pittsburgh at this point, like Cincinnati is, you have to be extremely cautious now with a weapon like Heath Miller in there. You can't get so fixated like they did on that goal line pass that resulted in a touchdown for Heath Miller. You can't become fixated on the bus at halfback and forget about the play action possibility.
There's about 500 pounds of Pittsburgh running back with the combination of Kreider and Bettis on 2nd down and 8. This is Bettis, who twirls his way to about the 25. Carl Powell brings him down. It's a gain of 5. Powell didn't play last week because of a knee. He's out of Louisville. And 52 yards for Jerome Bettis on the ground today.
Now remember what's happened here in the sequence of plays. And if you're wondering what a field goal gets you here, a field goal gets you a 2-touchdown lead. And it takes that, you know, miraculous win type strategy out of the Cincinnati formula. It'd have to be 2 miraculous touchdowns to tie.
Wilson still in there for Ward. It is 3rd down. Good tackle made. Odell Thurman, the rookie out of Georgia, a 2nd-round pick, tripped him up. It's a gain of about a yard to the 23.
Wow, that was amazing. It was coming in as it was going to be spotted on about the 22.5-yard line.
And then he kept going. Jerome Bettis did not stop, and they mark it now at the 21, which is a gain of 4. Those were 2 yards that were unseen to the human eye.
Was he burrowing on top of people?
He was submarining. He was doing everything. It was below ground, though. Parker is back in for a winded Bettis. Look, he just kept going.
The bottom line is they never stopped his forward motion.
21-yard down. That's right, 21-yard line, 1st and 10. This is Parker. And he is brought down by Carl Powell again, 17-yard line, gain of 4.
So, you know, we talked about what a field goal gets you in this situation. What a touchdown gets you here if you're Pittsburgh is you put the other team in desperation mode. And you can sell all you want. There's still plenty of time. There's still plenty of time. And it's a minute and a half or so till the end of the 3rd quarter. But if you're this team from Cincinnati, you know you go down by that many points, you're going to have to do nothing but throw.
Hines Ward is back in, 2nd down and 6 from the 17-yard line. And they go to Ward with a contorted catch at the 5. He beat Deltha O'Neal. It's a 1st down. It's a gain of 12. And so through the air on this drive, Roethlisberger has hit Miller for 21. Ward for 12 right there. 1st and goal, Pittsburgh.
That was just an act of will. And you know Hines Ward is hurting with that banged-up hip. Came in with a bad hamstring. Has had a few problems as far as penalties and whatnot so far and tussles with the defense. But Pittsburgh on this drive, 6 runs, 2 passes, very effective passes, and a physical presence.
Bettis is in, 1st and goal at the 4. And Jerome Bettis. And coming through is Odell Thurman, who tripped him up. No gain on the play. 2nd and goal. And the 3rd quarter clock now with about a half minute to play.
There's no reason to hurry if you're Pittsburgh. You've got Cincinnati in a situation where they've got to stare at the clock. And if you snap a ball within 2 seconds of the play clock going out, you're crazy.
10th play of the drive. It began back at the 40-yard line. 2nd and goal at the 4.
1 second differential. Milk that thing down.
2 tight ends. Ward is on the move. Kreider's in the backfield with Bettis. Roethlisberger caught. Hines Ward, touchdown. A 4-yard strike with a little Chad Johnson Texas two-step to boot. Roethlisberger has thrown his 2nd touchdown pass today.
If you're curious about the perfect combination for a young quarterback out there, if you're fans of other teams besides the Steelers and the Bengals, you give them a tough, aggressive running game, sure-handed receivers, and an accurate quarterback at your age. It's worked out perfectly for Pittsburgh and Ben Roethlisberger, and that doesn't need a title. That's back at you.
Last 3 possessions, Pittsburgh has scored a field goal. They got a touchdown run from Parker, and that extra point now makes it 24-6. And seconds ago, a 4-yard touchdown pass to Hines Ward, his 5th touchdown reception of the year. Into the 3rd quarter, the Steelers are rolling.
Part of being good is being lucky. Watch Heath Miller, the tight end, move. Little twitch, little early movement before the snap. Wasn't called though. It must not have ever happened. You believe me or your lying eyes?
The eye in the sky doesn't lie. Is that what they say?
Only when they've made mistakes.
Heath Miller has caught a touchdown pass, and Hines Ward has caught a touchdown pass. Ensuing kickoff by Reed. Perry at the 5-yard line for the Cincinnati Bengals. Rammed into Ryan Wallace of the Steelers. Rolled off him, and he is brought down by Iwama. And about the 32-yard line, 26-yard return. Coming next, game 2 of our CBS doubleheader. Broncos will take on the Giants. Or you'll see the Ravens and the Bears. Oakland host Buffalo, or Tennessee and Arizona. Check the game and time in your area.
Giant fans are going to find out exactly how good that young offensive line is. It's protecting Eli Manning. That Denver defense, those Broncos, as they're called there in Denver,
yes,
have done a heck of a job so far for Larry Coyer's defense.
A lot of ex-Cleveland Browns on that team. They're playing so physical in Denver. Walter is the extra wide receiver. 1st and 10 from the 32. End around TJ Hushmanzada. And he got a block on the play from Walter. Not 1, but 2. Dances into the grasp of Hope. Knocked out of bounds at the 50-yard line. 17-yard run.
I tell you, the fun part of that one for me was watching Troy Polamalu try to tackle Hushmanzada. Watch. Right here. Zip, zip. Whoops. I mean, that's a Pro Bowl or young All-Pro kind of safety you just made airball. That's a nice move. And, you know, Polamalu, for all the rep coming in, has not been a huge factor in this game.
50-yard line, 1st and 10. Perry is in the backfield. Here comes Porter, and there goes Perry. And here comes the rookie McFadden, who played last week for the first time. And he throws Perry for a 4-yard loss, and the ball is back at the 46.
Now, one of the reasons I talked about field goal and touchdown the last possession, see what Pittsburgh's doing now? You've got all these guys that are pretty much away from the line of scrimmage for one reason. You know Cincinnati has to throw it. You're not going to cram people in the box. You know run is just sort of an occasional thing. They have to throw the ball. This puts Carson Palmer and his receivers in a worst-case scenario.
Deshae Townsend is the 5th defensive back. Kershke has come in for Hampton. 2nd and 14. They need the 40. Palmer almost intercepted by Harrison. They were looking for Hushmanzada. And Harrison, who already has an interception this year, a kid who was undrafted out of Kent State, sat out a year and played last year, is starting today.
There he, right here. Watch Harrison. There's a reason athletes and smart football players that big aren't offensive players, because they can't catch.
3rd and 14. Perry's in there. 5 in the secondary for Pittsburgh. And here comes Kershke. And down goes Palmer. Sack back inside the 40. That's the 2nd sack today authored by the Pittsburgh defense. It's a loss on the play of 8. The ball is at the 37, and the Bengals have got a punt. for a second consecutive time.
You know, this second half hasn't been about strategy. This second half hasn't been about who's smarter and who isn't. The second half has been about the Pittsburgh Steelers being the Pittsburgh Steelers, imposing their will and physically beaten on the Cincinnati Bengals.
Kershke gets his 6th career sack. He's a 9-year player out of UCLA, and the short punt goes to Antoine Randall, who slips in a lady, falls on him at about the 30. 3-yard return, a very meager 36-yard punt. 13-14 to play. The second place Steelers leading first place Cincinnati. Ben Roethlisberger has thrown 2 touchdown passes. Parker a 37-yard touchdown run. 1st and 10 after the Cincinnati punt, 30-yard line. Pitch out to Parker from Roethlisberger. Grabbed by Brian Robinson. And then brought down by Justin Smith. Gain of 7 to the 37. College life rocks the sports, the parties, but next Sunday, college life is going to bite. CBS.
I knew you couldn't do it.
They present Vampire Bats next Sunday on CBS, America's most watched network. Wow.
What's the next scourge?
We've had locusts, we've had bats, we've had sharks, right?
Seventh year, the attack of the 7th-year seniors.
Second down and 3. Kreider and Parker in the eye. Parker into all kinds of Bengal defensive traffic at about the 40, close to a first down on a gain of about 2.5 to 3.
You know, early on, we talked about this whole thing, what had to happen, and boy, has it been your kind of balance for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And have they frustrated? Yeah, they absolutely have. The lightning's been gone. They've had some smash mouth for Cincinnati, but they've got their interception. They got the 1 turnover force. But the big thing is the Pittsburgh takeaways right here. Those 2 takeaways and the 2 red zone occupations by Cincinnati early. They came away with 3 points. It should have been 14. And how important are those 11 points now?
Big. 1st and 10. They did get the first down. Parker again poking and picking his way into the grasp of Ohalady. In a 5 to the 45.
Well, if you're a Steeler fan, too, you've got to be very happy with Willie Parker and what he's done. You know, Bill Cowher was talking about, you know, we're going to feature him early and see how he does, and we're also going to bring in Jerome Bettis. He's got 97 yards, so he's right on the cusp of another 100-yard game for the Steelers.
Well, in the 21st ranked rush defense of Cincinnati being put to the test. Parker has that long touchdown run of 37 yards. Pittsburgh scored 17 points in the final 10 minutes of the 3rd quarter. Here's a 2nd and 5 from midfield. Parker again. Grabbed and brought down on the play by Odell Thurman. Gain of 1, and he's to the 46.
Yeah, one of the things that Bill Cowher has personified has been running the ball, and they've struggled doing that the last 3 games. You think Cowher, you think tough defense. You know, I think Cowher, running the ball is like oxygen, and they choke oxygen off for the other team. They keep the ball, they run it. They've got 157 so far on the day. They run the clock. They put so much pressure on the other offense, it sets up their defense for big plays.
Greg Brooks is a new cornerback, 1 of 4 for Cincinnati, 3rd and 4. And Parker outrunning the coverage. Great block again by Hines Ward. That opens the door for a first down run to the 40-yard line. That is a zigzag tote of 13 yards. And Parker is well over 100 on the day, 111.
How about some quickness and speed right here? Clearly wide open, just making a guy miss. You're just making Gathers completely airball there out in the middle of open air. And Bettis and Parker right now are leading this 1-2 punch, running the ball. And that 1-2 punch has been predominantly located somewhere between the eyes.
2 tight ends, 1st and 10, 41-yard line. Parker remains. Reversing field, and Roethlisberger wants to throw a block and does into Landon Johnson. And then Parker looked like he just kind of tripped on his own after he gains yardage to the 22-yard line and picks up 18 yards.
You're talking about the bats in the movie and then the locusts? This is the turf monster. Maybe that's the next scourge to come. It's the attack of the turf monster. Ah, gotcha. You know, he'll just reach up and grab you sometimes when you're running him and stuff.
Yeah. Third 100-yard rushing game, and on the heels of a 55, a 26, and 55-yard game over the last 3. Not bad, and a big game for Parker. First and 10, 21-yard line. The Steelers have run it 6 consecutive times, and Roethlisberger now calls a timeout.
But not before the clock ran all the way down to 1 second. Got as much time off the clock as possible.
He's thrown 2 touchdown passes today, 9:02 in the fourth, and Pittsburgh moving again.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. UPS. What can Brown do for you? And by Subway Restaurants and the American Red Cross. Together, we can help.
Bengals have allowed a season-high 190 yards on the ground with a combination of Parker and Bettis battering them throughout the afternoon. And look at the time of possession. First and 10. Ron Haynes is in the backfield at the 21. This is after a Pittsburgh timeout. Haynes, a former college walk-on, spins his way to about the 17-yard line, and he's brought down on the play by Ohalady and Smith, and it's a gain of 4. 37-yard run by fast Willie Parker. Touchdown catch by Hines Ward. And earlier in the game, there was a touchdown pass to Heath Miller, the rookie tight end. And Bettis, we've gotten a steady diet of him today. He's been terrific. Second down and 6 from the 17. Haynes remains in the backfield. And with a Kreider block and a tackle by Ohalady, he ran it about the 14-yard line on a gain of 3.
Well, if you've got a formula for, you know, Dr. Frankenkauer on the sideline for his monster here in Pittsburgh, it's when you get somebody down like this, you run it, and you run it like crazy. Against Tennessee in that opener we did, they ran the ball 20-something straight times, never even thought about throwing the ball. And with Jerome Bettis and Willie Parker running behind this offensive line that has taken this game over, why stop it? You know, they had the most rushing attempts ever under Cowher last year, and they're well on the way to the same kind of season this year.
14-yard line, 3rd and 3. Haynes again. And he pierces. There's a flag. He's down to the 10, the tackle by Ohalady.
Holding, offense, number 83. 10-yard penalty, repeat, 3rd down.
But Randy, really this game kind of, the way it has kind of transpired, you got to go back to the first couple possessions for Cincinnati.
Especially the first one. Remember the pass to Chad Johnson, the enthusiasm here. That was ruled. He didn't get his second foot down in. The drop by Chris Henry, the yank by Shane Graham. They get no points the first possession. I mean, nothing. Off of what looked like I said at the time, that's a 17-point swing.
That's exactly right.
You know, and if you don't, you get just 3 points out of the 2 incursions into the red zone in the first 2 possessions. You know, there's an 11 points right there that Marvin Lewis right now would desperately love.
Rashad Bauman becomes the 5th defensive back, 3rd and 13. They need the 12. 4 receivers, and here comes Haynes, who was slowed down by Powell and hit by the aforementioned Rashad Bauman out of Oregon. It's a gain of 2. Now it is 4th down, and here comes the field goal unit for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, the only time you're going to see the ball in the air for Pittsburgh from now on is when they kick it. You're not going to see them throwing.
7:01 to play in the game. Cincinnati burns their first second-half timeout. Cincinnati just took a timeout, setting up for a field goal of 39 yards as Jeff Reed is out of North Carolina. And his long snapper is Greg Warren. For a year, he was his long snapper at North Carolina. Warren taking the place of Mike Schneck, who was too costly. Warren is a rookie out of North Carolina. And there's 3 more. And Pittsburgh has put on a game when they needed it most. Leading now 27-6, 6:56 to play in the 4th from Cincinnati.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Sony. Transform the way you watch football with Sony, the world's greatest high-definition television. And by new Budweiser Select, brewed for a crisp taste that finishes clean. Be selective.
Pittsburgh ran off some nice time on that last drive.
6:18, and I think they flashed a free beer in the parking lot sign up here somewhere. We got a lot of terrible towels being waved in the stands, and not too many orange towels for Bengal fans.
Reed just kicked a 39-yard field goal, 1 of 2 today. This is a line drive boot. And on the ground, picked up at the 12-yard line by Tad Perry. Gets away from Brett Kiesel, then is hit by Woma. And then Tyrone Carter came down. Tyrone Carter came down and made the stop after a 16-yard return. Roethlisberger, 2 touchdown passes. Parker, a touchdown run. Tomorrow on CSI Miami, this time the suspect is one of their own. It's the most intense case of Monday's most watched show. CSI Miami tomorrow on CBS, America's most watched network. Roethlisberger hit Hines Ward and Miller for touchdown passes today. Parker had a 37-yard touchdown gallop. The 2 Reed field goals. Palmer has thrown 2 interceptions for Cincinnati today from the 28, 1st and 10. Perry is in the backfield, and Palmer sets and hits Hushmanzada, who's brought down by the gimpy Deshae Townsend at the 35, gain of 7.
You know, the Bengals hopefully have learned a valuable lesson, Marvin Lewis, his entire football team, that when you get in these big games, it's about being physical, and more importantly, it's about being mistake-free. And they have not been mistake-free as he almost throws another interception.
There are 6 defensive backs, which Palmer is throwing into. That was intended for Kelly Washington. It is incomplete. It is 3rd and 3.
Well, remember Chad Johnson's list? You know, this is one of the most passionate football players I've been around, but he does love to rub it in people's faces, and he's got that little list, and every time he gets done, he checks it, and so far there's no yeses on that list, but
it'll change.
I'm not sure if he's going to blame it on Deshae Townsend, but I can't see where he could check a yes.
35-yard line, 3rd and 3. Palmer hit by Ferrier and undershoots Chad Johnson, who is covered by Chris Hope. Cincinnati's got a punt. No emotion from the Bengals, at least since the middle of the first quarter on.
Well, I mean, they're deflated emotionally. I think they expected a lot different type of performance out of themselves, as did their fans. You see Palmer being taken down there by James Ferrier. But, you know, sometimes you rise to the occasion in these big games. I fully expect these Bengals will be back, and like I said, they'll be a force in this conference.
4th and 3 punt. Antoine Randall on a bounce and gets by Reggie Miles. Chased by Tad Perry out of bounds at about the 38-yard line. 37-yard punt with 6:11 in the 4th. So the Steelers will begin it. 1st down and 10. And zeroing in on a 4th consecutive win in Paul Brown Stadium. And that in this division does mean something.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's the confidence they came in here with. That's what they showed last night when we talked to them. That's what every Steeler fan that spent their money on tickets in this stadium, as all their fans seem to do on the road, expected, and that's exactly what they saw.
38-yard line, it's 1st and 10, and this is Veron Haynes, who is brought down by Dwayne Clemens, gain of 2 to the 39. As the clock is at 6:07 and stopped, and a timeout taken. And here is the Pittsburgh Steeler upcoming schedule. Cincinnati burns their 2nd timeout. They've got 1 remaining, and again 6:07 to play as Pittsburgh has beaten Cincinnati. Baltimore on Halloween is the next game for the Steelers.
Well, pretty appropriate. These two teams should meet on Halloween. The Ravens and the Steelers. It's kind of a grudge match. And then Green Bay, Cleveland, Baltimore again, Indianapolis, Cincinnati. Some tough teams on there, and also an awful lot of games that this Steeler defense ought to be able, or Steeler team ought to be able to win.
The 2nd and 8 run by Haynes from the 41. The tackle is made by Ohalady. It's a gain of about 8. Very close to a 1st down. They're going to give it to him at the 48-yard line. Pittsburgh is still trailing as this game progresses, and if the Steelers go on to win by a half game in the AFC North. And now things are much tighter. And Pittsburgh, with their healthy quarterback back and rolling, they'll have won 2 of their last 3 games.
Well, when we talked to Jerome Bettis last night, we talked about that. Well, if you win, they're 5-2, you're 4-2, and he kind of stopped us and said, the other one's not an option. The other one ain't going to happen. little did we know he was absolutely right.
Haynes on 1st and 10. And brought down by Thurman along with the other Bengals to the 48, gain of 3.
And coming in, like we said, so we take them to 5-2 and them to 4-2, and the saying here in Cincinnati is, uh-oh, here comes Pittsburgh.
And the Steelers will have won their 10th consecutive road game. That sets a franchise record.
Going back to the first little Super Bowl spurt of the Steelers back in 74-75 when their first 2 Super Bowl teams.
2nd and 7 from the Cincinnati 48. Roethlisberger with the 2 touchdown passes today. Morgan is an extra receiver, and here comes Haynes, who was grabbed by Thurman and wrestled down. Haynes began his college career at Western Kentucky as a walk-on. Then went to Georgia, and he led Georgia in rushing his senior year. He was a 5th-round pick by Pittsburgh. That 13th consecutive running play forces Cincinnati to take their final timeout with 4:32 to play in the game. The defending AFC North champions in their first division game this season, taking care of first place Cincinnati 27-6.
You mentioned 13 straight running plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's not a whole lot of finesse to this team in general, especially when they get ahead of you. You're seeing blitzes, and you're seeing soft defense taking advantage of you having to throw, and you're seeing a running game that just rams the ball down your throat.
James and O'Neal on this 3rd and 3 play. As Haynes tries to find the 2 starting cornerbacks for Cincinnati. James and O'Neal are out with a flag down. And Rashad Bauman and Greg Brooks are in at those cornerback positions right now. We've not gotten any word that either of the starting corners are injured. Most of the starters are in the game.
Grabbing the face mask, defense number 92. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
It's Dwayne Clemens, who last week came back from a 4-game suspension for violating the NFL's substance abuse policy. A guy who's played with Minnesota and the Chiefs and now with the Bengals. Ball's down, Randy, to the 28. Clock at 4:24. 1st and 10, Pittsburgh.
Well, I mentioned that 20 runs in a row thing from the opener. It was just sort of a statement, not a challenge.
Well, they've had 14 straight already. Sean Morey is in motion. A guy who continues to change the last name of his, the way it's pronounced. And there's a run by Haynes, and a tackle is made by Odell Thurman. First of all, he was Morey. Then it was Morey. Then it was Marie. Now he's Morey again. He's gone. He's changed, they tell me, every week of this season.
Yeah.
They've told a TV crew but anyway, right. It is Morey.
Remember something very important here, Kevin. It's their world. We're just passing through
That's
it.
Right.
So,
I guess that's
and it's also their name.
Yes. 2nd down and 9. Couple of good-looking linebackers. Porter, a Pro Bowler for 2 times in his career. Ferrier on the sideline. 2nd and 9. Lead blocked by Kreider. And Haynes brought down by Thurman again. The gain is to the 22. It's a pickup of 5 yards. Now Cincinnati will drop to 5-2, 2-1 at home, 1-1 in the division, and they've got the Packers coming up.
And those are both winnable games for these Bengals. Predicated that Marvin Lewis doesn't let this game affect his football team too much, and the team cooperates. And I fully expect Marvin Lewis to have his team, ripping, roaring, and back to fire coming out of their nostrils next week when they get the Green Bay Packers. And then they get the bye, but then they get the Colts. And both these teams in about a 2-week window take on the Indianapolis Colts.
Cincinnati's out of timeouts, 3rd down and 4, handoff to Haynes. And with the loose ball, it is retrieved at the 21-yard line by Clemens. 2 turnovers by Pittsburgh. And Haynes coughs it up.
Not much happens to a running back, especially a big physical running back, when they starting and stopping and get into a situation where somebody comes in from the offside to Verron Haynes there and puts a helmet on his elbow, is carrying the ball, and knocks that thing across the field.
Pittsburgh has scored 20 unanswered points with Roethlisberger touchdown passes and Parker touchdown run of 37 yards. Reed with a couple of field goals. Carson Palmer came into today having gone 18 quarters without an interception. He was picked off twice. 1st and 10, and almost picked off for a 3rd time by the rookie McFadden, who was the #1 high school cornerback coming out of those ranks.
Here's that quarterback ranking thing. Palmer and Peyton Manning had tied with 9 straight games over 100, and these kind of stats are what led a lot of analysts and people around this league to hyperventilate a little bit about Carson Palmer. This is the greatest young quarterback. This is a really talented young man who's extremely grounded, who's had a bad day, a terrible rating, 2 interceptions. Don't forget, the best quarterback in this league, throwing-wise, is Peyton Manning, but the winningest guy in the league is Tom Brady.
2nd down 10. Palmer throws that, is deflected by Deshae Townsend. They've got 6 in the secondary for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Townsend, one of the 6. TJ Hushmanzada was in his sights. It'll be 3rd and 10.
Well, remember the advantage numbers-wise that Palmer and the offense had after the first half? They had the numbers edge, but only trailed 7-6. Well, in the second half, they've had 44 total yards and 3 first downs. The Steeler defense has absolutely stifled them. The Steeler football team has taken over this football game.
3rd and 10, Perry at the side of Palmer. Henry is the 3rd receiver. Schobel, the tight end, providing a block, and there is a pass out to Henry, who's been quiet today for the most part. Not a bounds. He goes at about the 37. Flag is down. It's a 16-yard catch and run. McFadden was over there with the tackle.
Illegal use of the hands.
89.
Hands of the face, defense number 23. This penalty will be declined. The result for the play, 1st down.
It's Tyrone Carter who is being used because of all the injuries. Mike Logan, by the way, came up a little bit lame. We mentioned it earlier in the broadcast, and he's out now with a hamstring.
And there's a few players in the field right now that are in because A, guys are hurt, and B, they're up by 3 touchdowns. It's a good time to get people that are dinged out of the game.
1st down and 10 from the 36. Carson Palmer, who came into today with 9 consecutive games of a quarterback rating of 100 or better. Tied the NFL record set last year by Peyton Manning. And Palmer going deep and looking for Johnson, who works on, and he caught it. He works on Ike Taylor and catches the ball at the 17-yard line on a 47-yard strike.
Well, in Chad Johnson's world, that might be that check. They didn't cover him. Nice catch. Look at the footwork he does. He turns his entire body out of bounds, but the feet are still in. See the feet dragging 1, 2? That was a beautiful job by Chad Johnson.
Kelly Washington becomes the 3rd receiver. Schobel is the tight end, and Perry's in the backfield. It's 1st and 10 from the 17. No timeouts for Cincinnati. Pittsburgh has 2. It's Hushmanzada on the move. Palmer, Kelly Washington, who played some minor league baseball for 4 years before going to Tennessee, picks up 6 across the middle, and he was brought down on the play by Tyrone Carter at about the 11th.
Yeah, we talk about the substitutions because of injuries and whatnot for the Steelers. Carson Palmer and the starters are in here for Cincinnati to make a point. They're not done, and they're not quitting.
Hushmanzada, grabbed by Deshae Townsend at the 4-yard line, and that 2nd and 4 pass picks up 7. We're at the 2-minute warning.
Familiar territory for this offense. See if they can bang it in this time.
Saw Hines Ward doing that little dance there in the end zone. One of 2 Roethlisberger touchdown passes today. Parker, a 37-yard touchdown run. For Bill Cowher, Pittsburgh Steelers, and Cowher took full responsibility, he said, for last week's loss to Jacksonville in overtime. But they get their starting quarterback back today. They get Hines Ward back today. They run Bettis, and here they are with a win.
And they didn't physically control Jacksonville. They made mistakes. Everything they did today, they didn't do last week.
1st and goal at the 4. Henry is one of 3 receivers. Quarterback draw. And Palmer goes in for the touchdown run. His 2nd of his career, the 1st of this season.
Quite a call with your franchise quarterback in this situation. He just forces himself in, though. He won't be denied. James Ferrier can't keep him out. And that was more making a point to the Cincinnati Bengals than making a point to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Trying the extra point will be Shane Graham. That has been cut 4 times in the NFL before he finally sticks here in Cincinnati and puts one more on the board for the Bengals. 1:57 to play in the game. 27-13 is the score, with the second place Steelers on top of first place Cincinnati.
With that spread formation, not much inside. They weren't exactly expecting a run by Carson Palmer. It was a nice call by Bratkowski, the offensive coordinator.
Well, tonight, as you take a look at Carson Palmer with his second career touchdown run, tonight on 60 Minutes, Michael Jordan goes one-on-one with Ed Bradley on a special broadcast of 60 Minutes with fewer commercials, followed by a new episode of Cold Case. Jennifer Lopez and the network's premiere of Enough. That's all tonight on CBS, America's most watched network. Well, we certainly expect an onside kick here by Shane Graham. Pat McGrath, our very sharp statistician, has come up after a lot of sweat equity. And
when was the last time he had an onside kick blocked? Is that what we got here?
No. There has not been a successful fourth quarter onside kick executed in the NFL this season through 6 weeks. 0 of 14. Very nice, Pat McGrath. It's been fun watching Palmer on the sideline today. Last year, he and Chad Palmer drove down to Indianapolis to watch the side, or Carson Palmer and Chad Johnson drove down to Indianapolis to watch the preparation of Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison. And he said the one thing he noticed about watching Manning on the sideline was that timeout has been taken by the Pittsburgh Steelers here, by the way. They've got one remaining as Cincinnati sets up for the onside kick, we believe. But one thing he noticed was just how they work in concert together on the sideline, and Carson would talk to Chad, and that is kind of the residual of watching Peyton talk with Marvin in Indianapolis during a defensive series when they're on the sideline looking at photos and plotting and planning the next series.
Well, and things obviously did not go the Bengals' way today in a lot of ways, and Chad Johnson and Palmer and Marvin Lewis and this entire football team and organization can't be happy, but you know, I can't tell you how much this organization has changed. I mean, the feeling around this football team has changed dramatically. That young quarterback right there, Carson Palmer, has a lot to do with it. Young players like Odell Thurman and David Pollock have a lot to do with it. But the main person is Marvin Lewis. Marvin Lewis has changed the entire outlook of this team. And the number one thing they have to concentrate on is right there in front of you. They are still in first place in this division. They can't lose sight of that. They beat Green Bay. They're 6-2. They're at the halfway mark, and they're 6-2. Do you think of Bengals when you think 6-2 at the halfway mark? Not in this real world. Maybe in a parallel universe you did, but not lately.
Onside kick caught by Hines Ward, who quickly falls down, and now it is, 0 for 15. There's not been a successful fourth quarter onside kick this season in the NFL, and Hines Ward, who took a big shot falling hard on his hip earlier in the game, is back after missing last week with a hamstring. And coming up next, most of you will see Denver with Jake Plummer at 5-1 in the Meadowlands to take on Eli Manning and the New York Giants. That's the second game for most of you in our CBS NFL doubleheader today. The one thing that Pittsburgh points to is they may be a half game behind in the standings, but they've got the same number of losses.
And the one team everybody's staring at is the Indianapolis Colts.
Yep.
You say what you will, those Colts are in the process of doing everything they can to wrap up home field advantage. That was their goal this summer. That was their goal this offseason. And they're currently undefeated. And you make everybody come to that dome to play that track team, you're going to have some serious issues now that they've got a defense.
So the Pittsburgh Steelers have now won 6 of the last 7 overall over Cincinnati. They have won 4 consecutive games here, and they've won their 10th consecutive road game, which is a Pittsburgh Steeler record.
And in Pittsburgh Steeler fashion, they did not throw a pass in the fourth quarter.
How about that?
They just ran the ball.
The defending AFC North champions look every bit the champion today as they come into Cincinnati and beat Carson Palmer and the Bengals 27-13. Those are his numbers, the 2 interceptions, the first he's had in a month, and his rating at just about 54.
Well, and the big interception was the one that he threw after the turnover. After they'd gotten the interception off Roethlisberger, and then they turned it right back around on him, and it resulted in that touchdown by Hines Ward.
Cincinnati is still in first place, but now they have lost 2 of their last 3 games. They lost in Jacksonville, they won last week in Nashville, and they lose today. Roethlisberger, a couple of touchdown passes. Parker, a great touchdown run. For Randy Cross, Kevin Harlan saying so long. You've been watching the NFL on CBS, as now we take you to New York in our studios and Greg Gumbel for a Capital One update.